much in between, things we've never seen. You're a mirage that my mind can't see through. Are you here with me? One day we can see. And all my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. And all my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. Yeah, I know that time makes ways. All my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. And will my life be there one day? All I know is frozen waves, but I'm hoping time makes ways. I'm holding on to the image of you, live from far away, information highway. You're a mirage that my mind will cling to, though you're far away, we can make a way. All my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. Yeah, I know that time makes ways. Now that I have to wait for you, I know that I have to wait for you. Waiting, we're waiting. Yeah, waiting, we're waiting. Just need the patience. Give me the patience. How do I have to Yeah, I know that time makes ways.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. My name is Edson and once again, this week, with accompanying me today is my good friend and co-host Jacob Young. Jacob, how you doing?
Doing well. Looking forward to talking about this game, the past two games that we've had, and of course, looking forward to talking about tonight's game as well as this weekend.
So you can take this as a Fresno pregame show, just like the title says.
Exactly.
So before we go any further, obviously, gotta have to remind you all. Be sure to follow us on our social media that are down there. Yeah, Facebook down in the RGV, Twitter down in the RGV, and as well as Instagram at down in the RGV. Be sure to follow us there. You can also follow us on our personal accounts. Mine is eochoa_8 on Twitter, and eochoa DITV8 on Instagram. Had to change it because apparently somebody for some reason was trying to reset my password or something like that. I don't even know if that email was actually real or not. But I was like, I'm just gonna change my username. Maybe somebody wants it or something. I'm just gonna change it just in case. But Jacob, your social media?
Twitter, Jacob Young 456, and Instagram, Jacob Young 99.
So be sure to follow us. Be sure to follow us on our social media as well. Also, be sure to follow him on Twitch at the Overreacted Gamer. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Boom! And as well as on YouTube, Tip of Texas Sports Network.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm learning. All right. No hashtag blame Edson tonight. Hopefully. Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah.
Everything looks good. So, yeah, I think they can hear me. Hello? Is there anybody? No, there's... All right. Well, they'll come eventually. But anyways, guys, so let's go ahead and get started with this show. Last week, we had hopes that we would be coming into the show with some good news. And sadly, it just was not the case from Sunday's match. Mm-hmm. It's one of those games where they completely fill you up with hope. You know, early in the match, was it like the 5th minute, RGVFC managed to get the lead. RGVFC looked good. They were dominating Sacramento. Sacramento, even after the goal, looked extremely lost defensively and offensively.
Yep.
But the Toros did not capitalize in that moment. That was 15, 20 minutes where Sacramento was stunned by that early goal. Mm-hmm. And at the end, it ended up biting us in the butt. Sacramento ends up turning that score around and winning 2-1.
Yeah, it was a fantastic first half of the first half for RGVFC. I can tell you one thing. Yes, Sacramento Republic, first time in a while, they've looked as bad as I guess that they did at home, which was a huge momentum changer for RGVFC. Considering this lineup was basically the same lineup, except for, of course, goalkeepers, as, well, our last game that we looked impressive at. Yes, of course, we didn't necessarily end up scoring the goal at Tulsa, but things, of course, happened there. So, of course, it seemed like it was going to be a good balance for that first half. And then, of course, like you said, things did slip away from RGVFC. But even before that goal tying the game up in the first half happened, you're talking about how many opportunities from RGVFC to go up more than just one goal?
I think it was maybe like 3 opportunities. You had Michael Salazar had a couple. I think he had like 2. One of them after a Michael Nelson drop kick that went like behind the defense and towards Michael Salazar one-on-one versus the keeper, and he totally just misses the mark. I think that's the one that kind of hurt me the most, because like they gave it to you on a silver platter. What more did you want?
Yep.
And you miss it. And it was just frustrating. And I was tweeting with Carson that on Sunday during the match, and I told him, it's like, I'm pretty sure that the Toros are gonna lament these missed opportunities, and lo and behold, it happened. Michael Salazar had a couple. I think Eric Bird may have had one, but they were like clear opportunities. And if you're going up against a team, a traditional USL team, a team that has been on the rise, and you've made the first punch, and you see that they're stunned, you have to take advantage of the opportunities. And I think that has been the difference between being a playoff team and being where we're at right now.
Yep.
Is being able to capitalize offensively with the opportunities. Because we've mentioned it in previous episodes, is we have a decent defense, but they're not gonna hold this team forever. You know, the offense has to do their part.
Exactly. How many times have we talked about this exact same deal besides the defense doing a fantastic job, and then of course the offense not coming through? It feels like a lot more than we should on a consistent basis. Almost it feels every season. And why I bring that up is just due to the fact that, well, you don't take care of your opportunities and you don't do things like that. And then, of course, you're going to put pressure on the defense to where there could be a counterattack going on. And then, of course, the defense isn't going to be there all that time. They're, of course, going to get tired more than the offense is if, of course, it's not equally balanced. It's all about, in the long run on the pitch, it's got to be equal, as in that offense has to really come through if the defense is coming through for your team. So just feels like a lot more than we should be talking about this week after week, that these guys seem like they can score goals, but just can't put them in the back of the net. And you said it. You're correct. This is the difference between a playoff team and not a playoff team, why we're going to miss the playoffs. And, well, we couldn't score. Yes, we had some problems with all these attackers leaving us, but look, what more could we ask for with getting Michael Salazar basically back, except, of course, not here in full time. But what else? I mean, he knew the players for more than half a season. He knows what the deal is. He's the excuse with even Eric Bird. Eric Bird at times seemed like he was better than Michael Salazar too, even not just this game, but throughout that season. So it's just a thing that is frustrating. But of course, we know these players are trying. But in the end, you put a shot wide like that, it's going to always be. And then, it's just frustrating.
I think so right off the bat, like 30 seconds in, for some reason the Toros looked very stumbly. If you know if you're understanding what I mean. Yeah. 30 seconds in, you have a clear opportunity by Sacramento that Michael Nelson, outstanding save. I gotta say it, and we've said it many times about Michael Nelson. He is a goalkeeper that relies a lot on his agility, on his reactions. That's the word I'm looking for. He relies a lot on his reactions to make those outstanding saves. But other than that, it was mostly, like I said, 15 minutes. It was mostly all RGBFC. Let me see if I can find some of the opportunities. So this is the fourth. So going back into this goal. This was in the 4th minute. So you know what I really liked? I liked how Choi was the one that, if I'm not mistaken, Choi was the one that recovered the ball. Yeah. Sacramento was transitioning from defense to attack. Chuy Enriquez comes all the way to take the ball away. The ball lands with Michael Salazar, and he's able to out hustle like 2 defenders from him. And then gotta also give credit to Chuy Enriquez's lobbed, cross. it just gave it the enough accuracy to give it to Chelo Martinez, and his header was really good. It was just an outstanding save, but it was just bad luck on Sacramento that the ball landed on Nico Lemoyne's feet, and he had to capitalize on that. So overall, it was a good play. It was one of those things that we have been wanting for a long time from this team, and it's the way everybody knows where to be at. It was almost like second nature. Michael Salazar knew Chuy Enriquez was gonna come in on his left side, and without really thinking much, Chuy Enriquez was able to place that ball where he knew somebody was going to be there, because it was a first-time touch on that cross. So it was just by instinct that he knew that somebody was going to be in that area where he was going to put that ball in. So that's one of those things that I have to commend the Toros offense for in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, you say that you commend him. I say, well, Chuy Enriquez only played average. I'm just kidding. But of course, yes, there's always room for improvement, but that's what we wanted to see.
You can say however you want it, as long as you can back it up. If you think that Chuy Enriquez played horrible, you can go ahead and say it. Nobody here is limiting anybody's opinion. So just say how you really feel.
No, Chuy Enriquez, he was much better, but I think it goes back to the whole team effort as well. Sometimes for this is that, yes, they were able to make some outstanding plays, but there's still a lot of room for improvement, not just on the way that you can't necessarily score or put the ball in the back of the net, but where the passing is still a bit sloppy. We want a bit more with just consistent passing, not really necessarily losing it into the midfield. Now, the midfield did their part a bit in this game. Of course, just lost it a bit in the second half. Because now something that, of course, seems like it's just a consistent factor in general, and it's going to be tough to really change for at least this season, is, well, the midfield really being – they need to be more of a key factor into this game. I know that Isidro is doing a very nice job of helping that situation out and all of that, but you can't necessarily lose the ball too much in the midfield, because then it's going to create some problems, and make sure that you can take advantage sometimes of of set pieces and things like that. And of course, make sure that you don't allow to be scored on set pieces. So then, yes, and Michael Salazar did a nice job, but of course, giving away 2 goals isn't the best, but it could have been a lot worse for that man, considering that sometimes it was from the defense.
You mentioned the midfield, and what struck me as odd, it caught me off guard because I don't think we had ever seen it. Because to me, we've always played a 4-2-3-1 4-2-3-1 formation. Mm-hmm. But in this match, it looked more like a 4-3-3 to me. Because you had three players that have been playing as central defensive midfielders for the most part, playing at the same time. Romelio Hernandez, Isidro Martinez, and Eric Bird. And to me, it felt like at times, because of that, it felt like they were bunching up together and they weren't really in sync with each other.
Yeah.
At least what it's felt like to me. And I think that's why you mentioned the passing. And yes, it was horrible. It was horrendous at times. The Sacramento goals were because of dumb passing. And I hate using the word, but that's what it was. You know, it was there, and there were many times where Sacramento could have capitalized, but somehow they didn't take advantage. But there were so many times where they were forcing the ball through Sacramento's midfield, and 4 out of 5 times they would lose it in that. Once Sacramento started pressuring the defense and the midfield of RGV, I don't know what happened. Like, they lost their cool, they lost their tranquility and started freaking out. I think that's the best way to do it. It felt like they were freaking out. Yes, in those cases we say you got to release it quick. You got to release the ball quick. But your passes have to have an intention to go towards a certain player. And to me, like I said, to me it's just like they completely lost the midfield, and because of that, we didn't really see a lot of attack in the end of the second half, and the end of the first half, and the beginning of the second half. And that's what that's what is kind of worrisome about it, is once the other team pressures the defense, how are they going to react?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just, you've got to keep your cool. Make sure that, and of course, one stat is that they didn't do well, I guess, compared to Sacramento Republic on that passing thing. They had 77%. Sacramento Republic had about 84% on passing. So you can see that big difference right there.
Yeah.
Then, of course, even on that defensive side, we've seen it on both sides. Once again, I know, of course, you don't necessarily want to hear this, but Houston sometimes aren't able to really clear the ball away, and it goes the same with RDVFC. Sometimes they just panic a bit too much when they could realize, we could relax, pass it here, and get the ball back forward, and even try ourselves on a counter.
So here's something interesting, and it kind of proof of what I was saying, that I felt like our midfield was too bunched up, and they didn't know where to be at when all three of them together. Look at, if you guys have an opportunity, those of you who are watching, Jacob, when you have it some time, go to the match page for the game Sacramento versus RGV. There is a section that shows you the average positions of the players throughout the match. Look at Romilio, look at Eric, and look at Isidro, where they're at. They're overlapping each other as their average position. You can see in those aspects where there might be holes, where Sacramento's defense or midfield was able to outpower them, was able to get through them, and that's because they left so many holes in the midfield because they were trying to figure out where each of them went. That's why, because it shows the starting formation as a 4-2-3-1, but we know how well the USL is able to show correct formations at least for RGVFC. So, but that's a completely different subject. But you look at the average position, like I said, overlapping each other. You look at Sacramento. They're supposed to be playing a 4-2-3-1, and it looks, even in the average position, it looks like a 4-2-3-1 formation.
Yep. Yeah, it's very strange. That is really strange, considering your point correct being with that whole, just the lines, how they're bunched together due to the fact that, well, it's supposed to be a 4-2-3-1, which everyone knows that they can do that. But then, of course, you change it up and really all of them are bunched up. It's a problem. Now, I'm not going to point some fingers except for maybe this guy, even though, of course, we've seen him on a bit of a good streak. But Sam Junqua played an average game and maybe a bit worse than an average game, because average game for him is kind of good.
Yeah, it seemed like they were able to get past him with ease. It seemed like he was a little bit inconsistent with his passing. It seemed like he gave up too many fouls at the beginning of the match. And we hate pointing fingers. You guys don't see my. Actually, you probably did right now. I was doing this, crossing my fingers when I said that. Lisa Junqua. It's an internal joke, guys. I don't know why, but it's kind of like an inside joke of just like pointing out Sam Junqua, but it seems like I don't know. It seems like sometimes we put the blame solely on him, but if it feels like it is, we're sorry, but it's not supposed to be the case. But it's just so easy sometimes to pinpoint the mistakes that Junqua makes when he plays. But yeah, Sam Junqua left a lot to be desired. Even Carson was like, "What the hell's going on with Junqua?" Carson, who tends to be a lot more, I guess you can say, impartial. Doesn't make a lot of like comments of like, "Oh, this guy played well, this guy played bad," like while he's live tweeting.
I mean, he also says that he is not an Las Vegas Lights fan, but seems to give them a lot of praise. I mean, no, just kidding, of course.
We love you, Carson.
I mean, that's what he says. I'm not a Las Vegas Lights fan. I only cover the team impartially. And
I mean, he goes for the Browns. So
exactly, he goes for the Browns, which are actually looking a bit decent this year. Even though, of course, everyone, including myself, that I know really hate Baker Mayfield. But that's, of course, a different topic.
But hopefully you guys are seeing the point that we're trying to make in that aspect is Sam Junqua really needs a lot of work. You could tell the difference between having Robert Coronado and Sam Junqua on the field. He has a lot more room to grow, but I think we also have to mention, if we're going to talk about Junqua, we also have to mention Andrew Samuels. Andrew Samuels did not look good either out there. He was beat many times out on the wing, especially. And I mentioned this during the live tweet. I said, RGV are going to suffer with those through balls because more likely than not, those through balls, whether it was Inivalsen or Bonomo or even Sam Werner, like in the first goal, they were able, especially Werner, they were able to leave Andrew Samuels behind.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before too with that player, with just Andrew Samuels, because he hasn't earned the right to be called Samuel Adams, because that's technically he would be a hero to our team. But yeah, it's just, of course, yes, we understand these players are young, but he's played with us multiple times this season. He's basically ours. He's been on the lineup, whether the starting or on the bench, and he knows how to play, especially with the 4-2-3-1 lineup. Yet, of course, yes, he got beat a lot too. You're talking about a back line that's supposed to be incredibly efficient, incredibly amazing, and yet we just see the wrong thing. We see people getting beat left and right. And this, of course, was when we looked like we were going to be extremely amazing as we were up 1-0. And then, of course, everything changes with including our defense being a bit weird with, of course, Andrew Samuels getting beat and Sam Junqua. You put those two together, normally you don't necessarily win because you've got a big gaping hole in one of the sides of your lineup. And so, of course, tactics go back and they say, yes, you can change these things up. But for RGVFC, we don't necessarily have that type of depth to really change that thing up. And not to mention that Samuels has normally looked good. It's not like we gave up 5 goals like we had before this season. It's not like we gave up 3 goals before a substitution. It was just these little things that will, of course, make us miss a playoffs, make us get to that next level that we'd like to be at for at least the 2020 season.
Yeah. I'm looking over the replay from the first goal by Sacramento. This one, the one that was scored by Sam Warner in the 18th minute. The whole play starts with a missed pass by Eric Bird in the midfield. Honestly, I have no idea who he was trying to pass it to. That's how bad the pass was. Because it certainly wasn't going at the direction where Michael Salazar, who was the closest player to where the pass landed, and it definitely was not going towards Isidro Martinez. So right off the bat, right there, the play forced RGV to be a bit vulnerable. They were heading into transition from defense to offense, so they were left vulnerable by that. And Sacramento took advantage of it. Mm-hmm. You look at the play before the midfielder or from Sacramento, before he even sent the pass. Sam Warner had already how can I say? He already had a decent advantage over him as far as distance. He had already left him behind in his run. It was and no, that wasn't Enna Olsen. So the interesting part of this is that the ball didn't actually go towards Sam Warner. The ball actually, I felt went towards Thomas Enevoldsen. And Enevoldsen just makes a light tap, just a redirect towards Sam Warner. And that little redirect put Castellanos out of position. Castellanos was trying to intercept that ball. Had Enevoldsen not gotten a touch to it, he would have intercepted the ball easily. But Enevoldsen got to it first and redirected it to Sam Warner, who, like I said, had already been left behind, but had already left Andrew Samuels behind. And it was just a one-on-one opportunity. I will say this. The way Sam Warner finished that shot, that's how Michael Salazar should have finished 6 minutes before.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. From that first goal for Sacramento, right as I had watched the way that Salazar tried to finish that goal, of course it was missed out wide. Go that other way. Yeah, it was just, of course, a tale of two tales once again. You see one taking advantage, one not being able to take advantage. And so, of course, it became problematic. It became that same deal. And funny enough, I was at the Academy game, the first one, the U15s. Mm-hmm. And, well, it was the same exact way as in the first minute, or early in the game, I should say. I don't think it was like the first minute, more like 10 or 15 or whatever. But RDVFC Academy could have gone up 1-0 against the Austin Lone Stars, which, by the way, I've watched them before because my sister was part of a club team. They always used to play them, and goodness, it stunk because that team's actually pretty good. But besides the point, they don't put that ball in the back of the net. Sure enough, the Lone Stars take advantage of that. So it goes back and forth with the tale that, like you said, we missed the opportunities. And like you were talking to Carson, we're going to want those opportunities back, basically. And, it's frustrating when your opponents actually are able to do something that you weren't able to do maybe not too long ago. So.
Didn't we say the same thing against Austin?
Oh, yeah. We said the same thing against Austin. We've said the same thing against even Sacramento Republic when we beat them. We've said it a lot, even when we beat a couple of teams. And even when, of course, we lost, we were like, we had the opportunities. We didn't take advantage. And then, of course, when we were down 2 goals to San Antonio FC, I bet you we did not take advantage of opportunities at the start of that game, making us down by that many and having to regroup and score at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes all the way back to game 1, which, of course, yes, I know that was the first game, but who knew that would be just the story of our whole season, where we weren't able to necessarily put goals in the back of the net. Yes, of course, that former player that didn't necessarily do that is now at Butler,
and he's playing real well. But
exactly, but that's besides the point. That's just our story. That's been the story of this whole year in general.
I like the way you said that. I like the way you said that the performance against Tacoma Defiance in that first game pretty much set the standard for the rest of the season. And it sucks to say it, but it's absolutely correct. Against Austin, you had, once again, against Austin, the first 15 to 20 minutes, you had the opportunities to score. You didn't score. And what happened? Once Austin got the momentum back in the game, it was hard to take it back. And what happened? They took advantage of their momentum and scored the goals that they needed. Not just one, not just two, 3 goals. They scored 3 goals on you. What is it about the team? What is it about the Toros that for some reason our strikers just are not clinical enough when we need them to? It's easier said than done. Yes, I know, and I have to say it because there's going to be a lot of people out there, in general, people on Twitter mention they're saying, "Oh, it's easy for you to say to be more clinical when you just sit around in the chair like, who are you, blah blah blah," right? Mm-hmm. But the point is, these strikers, y'all are placed in the starting 11 for a reason. It means you are the best people, the best starting 11 for each position going up against a certain team.
Yep.
But when our starters are struggling to put the ball in the back of the net, even on clear chances, like in this match, like against Orange County, like against Tacoma, you start to wonder, is are they taking practice seriously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Was it just not Carlos Small taking practice not taking practice seriously? Was it the whole team? Stuff like that. Now I doubt that that's true, of course, because
It may not be true. It may not be true, but it makes you wonder. Because
exactly.
It's the same thing almost week to week basis. That's why I said it like that.
Yeah, and it's also funny you bring that up too, because I've also brought this up on the show. Or are they still afraid of the big stage? We also talked about that a bit last year, compared to, remember when Kai Green, when he would finally get that starting spot, he looked amazing. But then we were wondering, why isn't he in the starting lineup week in and week out? Why does he have to sit on the bench and wait for those 90 minutes to go up and maybe get called into the game? Was he not necessarily taking advantage of practice? And then someone else was trying their freaking hardest, and then, of course, got stage fright in his position and weren't able to do as well in the game as in practice, or instead of just doing well in practice. So, yeah, no, you bring up a great point, because it's not like it hasn't been talked about as well on this show. It's a weird combination. Yes, talking to coach, I've heard the stories like, yes, this guy, fantastic. He really has the practice. This whole team come to our practice. They are practicing this on a consistent basis. So it's a weird thing of, are they just afraid of the big stage? And that's how it feels. If, of course, your coach is also
and that makes more sense
for you to say, well, they're practicing their hardest.
And that just makes perfect sense. Because how many times has Coach told us on record that he is a coach that he is going to put in the players who do their best during on practice during the week.
Yeah.
And this is not only from this year. This is from last year as well. Because I remember, like you said, talking about this last season as well. And what is it that some of these players somehow, I don't know, do they doubt themselves?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Is it more because we know that Carlos Esmal can put the goal on the back of the net. We know that Michael Salazar can do it. Is this then a psychological issue with them? Because if that's the case, then this goes something past what Coach can do. Coach Echeverry can do. Yeah. And something needs to be done about it. Getting them to believe in themselves again.
Yeah. Now, of course, the difference is, I think tonight will be that Carlos Small will be in the lineup, at least on the bench. And I think we'll still have Michael Salazar out starting. So that will be really the only difference, probably, as well as goalkeeper. So take that into perspective. Nothing necessarily as well too much is just going to change. Like we said, it could be a psychological issue or something like that because we've heard the words from Coach.
And that, and you know, and discussing that, it kind of leaves us kind of helpless because this isn't. That's not something that we can say. Oh, get better in this. This is a lot more complex and of an issue to just say something on this show and on how to make it better, right? You know, so I just hope that somehow that the team can, or them, the players, Salazar or Carlos Esmal, to find themselves again. I feel like they need to find themselves again. They need to get back in the mentality that they had in the beginning of the season. And we talked about it last week about how maybe the Dynamo kind of made Michael Salazar lose who he was. But
yeah, exactly. Maybe the Dynamo did that. We don't necessarily know. All we know is that he is more injury prone.
That and
Probably
he lost
cramping up, maybe.
that and lost his accuracy with the shots.
Yeah, that too.
Trying to look here. I don't understand. You know, I don't understand why Opta says that the crossing accuracy for the Toros was 0.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
I mean, the goal was based on a cross that found Isidro's head. So that's an accurate cross.
Yep. But were the rest of the crosses accurate?
I mean, there was only
not.
3 in the whole match.
So yeah, no. Based on that, it should still be
33.
Exactly.
But even then, I think the low amount of crosses that needs to be like a red flag or at least a caution on how Sacramento completely dominated the game after those first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about the second goal, how Michael Nelson just completely botched it. That was just bad. I was like, Michael, what are you?
Yeah.
Like, that was my reaction. Like, what the hell, Michael? It's like, I'm here, like, talking great things about you to people who ask me, and then you do this to me. Like, why? Like,
yeah.
It's like, I think Michael had a time to look for a better pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm looking at the play right now, and he could have tried to find either Andrew Samuels or right in front of him. I think was it Castellanos maybe? I think, but in the end, I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those passes where you're like, who were you trying to pass it to?
Yeah.
Because if he was trying to pass it to Chewy, why did you go with a ball that was close to the ground? Why didn't you lob it? Why didn't you why didn't you kick it up in the air? Because it was too much of a distance for you to pass a ball successfully without it being intercepted, if it actually had a sense of direction. And in reality, that ball just went straight towards the Sacramento defense. And once again, because of that, our defense was out of position.
Yep.
And once again, Andrew Samuels was caught off guard and left with a huge distance disadvantage to try to get towards what's his name? He had a weird. Hold on. Formella. Darius Formella. And another thing that I have to say here is Robert Castellanos. He tried to intercept that ball again, but he did it in such an awkward angle that had he not gone for it, like maybe he would have had it like a better chance to try to get towards Formella. I mean, I definitely understand what he was trying to do, and you can only get better at intercepting with practice. But it just leaves you kind of scratching your head. But it all goes back to being put out of position because you're caught in the middle of your transition from defense to offense.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to summarize this match, horrible passing.
Yep. Yep. Horrible passing indeed. And I mean, this team, of course, we know that they're trying, but they still need those building pieces, those building blocks, basically, to make this team better than they are. The players just need to do a better job in general. Now, we understand, of course, all the stuff that we're saying easier said than done, but man, you're talking about just better passing. This team might just come out of this game with a draw.
I can definitely agree with you on that. So I'm trying to see. Okay, so lineups have not been announced yet on the USO webpage. Yeah, they usually don't announce them until like an hour before, so we got 45 minutes for that. But tonight at 9:30 p.m. our time, RGVFC are facing off against Fresno FC in Fresno. What are your initial thoughts on this match?
Well, this is a team that we've always done bad against, whether at home or on the road. That's really my initial thoughts, especially on the road. I do recall at least one game we had some luck at their place, and then some bad luck at their place too, as in we got a goal called back because of a foul that was called for us, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was some bad luck. And then, well, you didn't only have that, but then, of course, we just get scored on a lot there. It's always a tough place to play. Great fans, but of course, RGVFC just, I don't believe their record is great there.
So you say that, and it's 1-1-1. However, we've only played in Fresno once. Yeah.
Okay, I was sure that we played against them more, but I guess
We've
that was
played
that crazy game.
We've played twice against them at home. But away, we've only played them once, and it was a 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
And it's that game you mentioned. The game where Chuy Enriquez makes that beautiful golazo from outside the box. So that's the only history we have playing at Fresno, and that was last year in week 9. We've won. Last year we beat them 2-1 at home. This year we lost against them 2-0 at home.
Yeah. And I believe that was our first game that we opened up HEB Park with this year.
Let me get back to you on that. I think so. Or no, you're thinking about El Paso Locomotive. No, never mind. No, you're right. Fresno. Sorry, looking at it backwards. Yeah, it was against Fresno. That's when everybody booed.
Yeah. That's when everyone booed because there were, and yeah, it was frustrating for sure because there were so many open opportunities for RGVFC to take advantage of that game, I do recall, and they did not. And then, of course, it was also frustrating that the fouls weren't going RGVFC's way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a poor performance all the way around, and the fans were there. It was a really great crowd for that first game.
Yeah,
and they all left disappointed.
Yeah. So, Fresno FC, last 5 results. 1-1 draw at home against Real Monarchs SLC. 2-1 win over Colorado Springs Switchbacks. 2-1 loss at Tulsa. 2-3 loss at Reno. Or no, win. 2-3 win at Reno. 3-1 loss at Las Vegas. So they've been, I guess you can say, what is it? They had 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. I think that's what I said. Yeah. 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. So about average, you can say. They've been average in the last 5 games. At home, they are 8-1-4.
Yep. And that's a fantastic record to have. Of course, yes, you'd want your record just to be a bit better at home, considering 4 right there is tough, but well, you're still in that range of, well, we can get points away, not to mention that they could get points we could get points at home, not to mention that they could get points away too, as you see their away record at 6-4-4 too. So it's just, this team can be lethal. This team can easily win this game if RGVFC is not careful. We saw them that first game. They can easily attack. They can go on the counter. RGVFC just has to be ready for that and make sure that they, have the right defense out there, have the right mentality to try and get some more goals. Of course, that's always going to be the key part. Take advantage, take care of the open goals, take care of those opportunities.
Looking at their goal difference, they're at plus 15. They're with 50 points. They're in 3rd place. They're tied with Reno 1868 in points and goal difference. And they only have 27 games in hand. Mm-hmm. So they're in 3rd place with 1 game less than almost everybody else. And so This is a good team. This is a good expansion team. Meanwhile, you look at RGV. One draw against San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
A win against El Paso Locomotive. Lose to Bold. Lose to Tulsa. That one hurt. And lose to Sacramento. So 3 L's in a row. It's going to take a gargantuan effort for the rest of the season if we want to dream about making it a playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's the players need to play like there's always going to be an opportunity. They need to continue to play motivated that they're going to do it. But if you look at it realistically, we're going to be without playoffs another year.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really frustrating.
For sure. Considering the team that we had at the start of the year to now. That team was very promising, seeing that we also had a coach that stayed with us for more than 1 year, had his own team, to say the least, that he really wanted to. Of course, yes, this is not on coach at all. I mean, well, some of it, of course, is. But it's also the player's mentality. When you have a player that comes back and then, of course, somehow at the start of the season just digresses in a way, it's not exactly what you want. Then you have another player, or then you have, a team that most of them had stayed for at least 1 year with coach, so they knew that formation. Again, looking like they're a lot better. Then you see that first game, you see the second game, and you're thinking, oh, well, so much for that. And halfway through the season, of course, you get a good run. But yes, we can all complain that Dynamo ruined this, but in the long run, we ruined it ourselves, for at least the players. Because, yes, that summer was amazing. That summer run was amazing. Then, of course, Malik Foster has to go. That was kind of expected. Michael Salazar, of course, doesn't look like himself when he comes back to Houston. That was not necessarily expected. Hopefully, he just gets better. I mean, the list can go on with the things that just changed. But, yeah, realistically, we're not making the playoffs this year. But there's still always a fight. We always want to see a fight out on the pitch, no matter who we're playing against on the road or at home. Because remember, last year was the best because we got to play spoiler. We want to play spoiler and make the playoffs, but most likely that won't happen, so they got to play with heart.
You want to know something else, Jacob?
What else?
We're at 28 points right now. Mm-hmm. We have 6 matches left. There is a possibility that this team can make less points this year than they did last year.
Yep.
Last year, the Toros ended the tournament with 38 points. Yep. Like I said, there's 18 points left possible. And I think it would not look good on coach. It would not look good on the players if this season that started out promising, that I even said that this was a team that was playoff capable.
Yeah.
Make less points this year than last year, which was a rebuilding phase.
Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't look good at all if that happens. We're talking about this team having the worst start ever. Mm-hmm. And I believe club history. That's what you said.
It was.
Yeah. And then, of course, for us not to, have as much points or more as last year, of course, raises some eyebrows and for not a good reason. And when that happens, another rebuilding year we go. Maybe coach won't stay another year. But of course, we've heard the things of, well, Matt Jordan and them seem like they are fine with Gerson Echeverry, which is good. But we're talking this year, if a team that we thought was playoff capable doesn't end up not necessarily making it, but also just getting as many points. Yeah, that's a problem. And
we can't hide that. We can't hide that. Like, we cannot excuse that, honestly.
No.
I think we'd look like fools if we tried to say, "Oh, it's because this," or it's because that. No, at the end of the day, you made less points with almost the same roster. You made less points this year, or what it made. I really hope it doesn't happen. Honestly, I want this team to be better. But even then, even if you make 1 or 2, maybe 3 points more than last year. Number one, that is not going to get you into playoffs. Considering that 8th place has 40 points. And you cannot expect that New Mexico United or Austin Bold are going to lose every match from here on out. And number two, even those 3 points of better points than last year, that is still not enough, at least in my eyes. It's still not enough of an improvement for us to say, like, okay, we're satisfied with the improvement. We know we weren't going to win the championship, but at least there was some visual improvement. Mm-hmm. While tactically there might have been some improvement, results wise, it was not. Whether it was because of Dynamo, whether it was because of mentally, as far as like mental lapses, whether it was because this and that, whatever. But at the end of the day, this team, which don't get me wrong, we're gonna support till the end. But just because we support you does not mean that we're not going to mention the cons, or what's the best word to look for?
Well, also we can put it this way: we're not going to Junior Gonzalez it.
Exactly. We're not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the end of the day, things just, they didn't go our way, but also the players didn't necessarily seem like they improved to a level that we not only needed them to, but expected them to. And that's when, of course, Houston Dynamo can and will get involved to say, oh, you all, Chuy Enriquez, for example. Of course, I'm picking on Chuy because, well, he's Chuy.
Because he stands out. Like he's the one that most fans are familiar with.
Exactly. But of course, this is all hypothetical. Probably will not happen. But where the Dynamo come in and say, oh, Chuy Enriquez, you've been here for 3 years and you didn't necessarily improve to what we expected. All right, hit the road with whoever you want in the USL to try to make it there. We don't want you anymore. That's when the Houston Dynamo starts to step in and say, nah, fam. We don't want you here if you are not improving after 3 or 4 years. You've had your opportunities, and, well, you showed the same. But, of course, it does take time to build a squad with a lot of young players. But if you don't see that type of improvement, then, it's not necessarily amazing. And coach, the same deal. It's like, okay, coach, got you some new players. You don't do this well this time, you're most likely fired. Or at the end of the season, well, okay, coach, we'll see you later. You were not cut out for this team. So that also becomes a problem because Gerson was on the uprise last year. Of course, we expected him to be better this year, and it might not have. And he probably improved, but the results, of course, don't show it. And then it goes back to the players. So it's just a back and forth deal.
At the end of the day, everybody has a portion of the blame. Even us, the way I see it.
Yeah.
Whether we didn't push these players hard enough, we didn't push the team hard enough, whatever. But it falls on us. I think it falls on us too in certain aspects. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating seeing that this team promised. See, I don't want to say they promised so much because, like, in word, they didn't promise us anything. But on paper, it looked decent. It looked like an improvement. We received players that were an improvement from those that left from last season. Robert Coronado, Isidro Martinez, Malik Foster, Michael Salazar. So on paper, this team, like, okay, if last year's team made 38 points, this team on paper looks for it to be at least a playoff team, like we said in the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. But in reality, we're showing this where they're making mistakes, and our strikers aren't putting the ball in, and it's like, what else can we do? I mean, should we then just conform ourselves to just being a team that will continuously be outside of playoffs?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with that in the aspect that I will continue to support this team. What I'm not fine, but my competitive side is not fine with that. I don't want this team to just be just another one of the bunch, a filler team for the USL Championship. I don't want that. I want a team that can be competitive, that can prove to Tampa Bay, and by Tampa Bay I mean the organization as USL, to prove to the USL headquarters that this team can go up against anybody, and can make a name for themselves, just like Phoenix Rising has done, just like San Antonio has done. You look at most of their promos, you look at most of the stuff that they put on the website, it's always San Antonio, it's always Phoenix, it's Louisville City, obviously because they've won 2 championships in a row, New Mexico United. But the Toros, they never made a name for themselves nationally, which is a huge contrast to the Vipers.
Well, I mean, you can go back to the Vipers here and say they didn't make a name for themselves until about 2010, 2011. 2011, they finally won the championship. And they had been around since, what, 05?
I think 05.
04? So, you put that together. It took them a long time, too. It wasn't until necessarily, of course, yes, the G League is totally different. Because at one point, they weren't even affiliated with the Rockets, which is crazy to think.
Yeah. Cavs.
So, yeah, it took a different direction for them to really do that. And, of course, I know what y'all are about to say, and we talked about it last week. That ain't going to work until we get more buyers with this club. And I know somewhat of logistics, and I know somewhat of just being a realist. I can tell you one thing, that ain't going to work yet. Now, as much as I wish it would, just it's not. But yeah, it's going to take time for them to get nationally recognized. But the key is win games, get more points than 35. Get closer to playoff contention, because if you do that, maybe you're that last team. Guess what? You're probably being talked about saying, look, there's 3 teams up here for that last playoff spot, and RGVFC is one of them. That's a way to get your name recognized for a bit. Now it's a start. But of course, here, the last time that we were even close to playoffs, I guess had to be last year, but then again, we fell off the boat.
2016.
So I guess a real national thing that we got was that first year. And then it went
Because if I recall correctly, the national USL media called, the Toros Dynamo relationship was the affiliation to emulate, because it was successful in that first year.
Yeah.
Because of RGV and the Dynamo's hybrid relationship, it allowed Reno and I think Reno's the only other hybrid, right, in the USL.
I think so.
Because SLC, the Monarchs, is basically a 2-team. It's still fully owned by Real Salt Lake. So, but the point is that the Dynamo Toros relationship influenced Reno and San Jose to do the same thing. And so far, Reno has been more successful at it than the Toros.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting depressed. But yeah, we stand by we stand by what we just said. At least I do. I stand by what we just said, that if this team makes less points than last year, it'll be a complete and utter failure.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So, anyways, 808. I don't think they are up yet. But anyway, so look at Fresno. Look out for Jaime Chavez. 9 goals in 22 appearances. Cutis Lawal, 7 goals in 24. Jamal Johnson, 7 in 25. So those are your 3 top scorers. Assists, you have Jackson, 5 assists in 18 games. Juan Pablo Cafa, 5 assists in 24 games. Clean sheets, CJ Cochran. Obviously, I think he's been the only keeper that's played for Fresno in all of the season. So yeah, CJ Cochran going to be their keeper more than likely. And they usually play, let me get that for you guys. You look at their last match, which they lost against Las Vegas Lights at Cashman Field, which I think they did, going off on a tangent, I think they did the whole money thing again that game, where they dropped money from a helicopter. They did that.
I thought that was Las Vegas.
That's why Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did that.
They lost against Fresno. Lost against Las Vegas at Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So, all right. Looks like they played 4-2-3-1. Yeah, 4-2-3-1 formation. Seems to be like the standard in USL.
Yeah.
Their starting 11 for that game was CJ Cochran on goal, Elijah Martin, Michael Daly, Ramon Del Campo, and Alex Cooper on defense, Suleiman Samura, and Hiroki Kurimoto in the midfield. You got Jackson, Juan Pablo Cafa, Jamal Johnson, and then Jaime Chavez as a striker. Mm-hmm. Will we see a couple of changes here and there? Maybe, because They did lose 3-1. And it doesn't seem like there's been any loss or any red cards on there. Their lone goal was scored by Alex Cooper. And all right, let's see if they finally. Let's see if for some, because usually they release them before. Here you are. All right, match page. Come on, give it to me. Give me that. Lineups will be announced soon. Okay, so not yet. Anyways, so I guess that's it for RGV stuff. Hopefully we can get a win tonight. I sure am hoping so. If we can get a win tonight against Fresno, but it is going to be very, very difficult. Predictions, Jacob.
Predictions, I say we're going to get that revenge, and we're going to actually win this time 3-2. And the goal's going to be scored by, yes, Truy Enriquez is finally going to get a brace. And Salazar as well.
All right. My prediction, I'm going to go with my regular prediction, 2-0 loss. That's my regular prediction, 2-0 loss. I think that's what's going to happen.
That's
I love you guys. Prediction. I love you guys, but I gotta be real sometimes. Bold prediction.
Bold prediction. Well, bold prediction. There's no one in the stadium. They play to an empty stadium.
You do know that the game where they launched beer cans at the stadium was in Phoenix, right?
Yeah. No, seriously, I guess, yeah, things get heated, as always, on my predictions. Carlos Small this time is the one that will be getting attacked. Of course, or try to, of course, before players will stop them and just confront each other. And a couple of yellows, maybe one red card will be released for that game, and we'll go with a 2-0 loss.
That's your bold prediction?
That's my bold prediction.
My bold prediction is I'm going to go with a 3-2 win. 3-2 win. And goal scorers, Chelin is going to get one off a free kick. Eric Bird is going to get another one if he plays tonight. Mm-hmm. And here's the boldest of it all. Deshane Beckford gets the third one at the death.
Yeah, no, that's a crazy bold prediction, but I like it.
Speaking of Deshane Beckford, is it me or should he be subbed in a lot earlier than he has been?
He should be. I mean, there's no reason for him to be subbed in a bit late, especially given the fact that, yes, 60th minute, that's when you really should be substituting a key player like him.
Yeah, he gave him 7 minutes against Sacramento? I think statistics say that players don't fully get into the rhythm of a match until they're 10, 15 minutes in the match. Mm-hmm. So you're only giving him 7 minutes to do something to change the course of the game. While superstars can do that in any instant, you have to remember, we're playing in USL Championship. Mm-hmm. If they were superstars that can do a big of a difference, they'd be Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Yep. That's a point I'm trying to make. Now, which leads me to believe, is Deshane Beckford not 100% fit to play more minutes? I highly doubt it. But then again, I'm not the one watching Deshane Beckford week in and day in and day out in practice. Mm-hmm. But it just leads me to believe if Deshane Beckford is supposed to be that difference maker, that's why they brought him in the middle of the season to replace Malik Foster. And you got to give him the opportunity to show that.
Yeah.
You got to give him the opportunity to play along with his new teammates and kind of get that chemistry going. Because I'm trying to remember what time and what minute they brought him in against Austin. And against Austin, he looked very lost. He looked very lost. He didn't know when to make his runs, but you can only get better at that one with minutes. You can only gain chemistry with minutes inside of the pitch. So looking at it, and he came in the 80th minute. So you're telling me that he got less minutes against Sacramento than against Austin? Now I do understand that Kevin Rodriguez had to be brought in because of the injury to Romilio Hernandez, but you already had two other defensive midfielders out there. Could have subbed out Romilio and put in Deshane Beckford instead of Kevin.
Yep.
But then again, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, you do exactly that. It looks like you're probably going to have a better game. It's simple as just let the man play earlier. Why isn't he already fit or something of that sort? We got him for a reason.
Trying to see, because against Sacramento, I want to see where Kevin was placed in this match, because I know Kevin can play out on the wing as well. That's where he's usually played, or he plays kind of like a second striker sometimes. But it's just and I know somebody made the comment, I don't know if it was Ray or I don't remember who it was, but somebody made a comment of they didn't really like, because they said, why are you bringing in Victor Garza, right? They said that somebody said that. I don't remember who it was. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like usually it'd be Carlos Esmal who would be subbed in at that time for Michael Salazar, but hey, guess what? He got a red card. He got a dumb red card against Tulsa. So we have no strikers at all on the bench. So he had to be subbed in. He came in for Chewy. It's okay. All right, I get it. You got to give some minutes to Victor, who's coming back from an injury. Kevin Rodriguez coming in for Romilio Hernandez. And then you had Nico Lemoyne come out. Then that's when you bring in Deshane Beckford in the 84th minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to also know something that's pretty crazy?
What?
For the youth academy, there are also no strikers on the bench. I don't know how that's a coincidence or whatever, but no joke, no strikers on the bench.
That is not good.
Nope.
And it's surprising because more oftentimes than not, kids will want to be a striker because they get the glory. They get to score the goals. But the fact that your academy has a problem not getting strikers as for depth, that's surprising and worrisome. Mm-hmm. And that's something that the academy director has to look at for that specific generation, if you want to call it.
Yep.
But yeah, we want to see more of Deshane Beckford. If he is that difference maker, if he is that, agile difference maker that people make him out to be, then he needs more time to show it than just 7 minutes or 10 minutes. I mean, that's all I have to say about that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Time is it? It is 8:21 at this moment. What else you want to talk about, Jacob?
What else? Oh yeah, I can also bring up this fact, I guess. Thought Mob, according to that app, they say we have a 13.9% chance to win. A draw is 21.3%. And 64.8% say that Fresno is going to win.
Granted, that's the poll, right?
Exactly, but you get. I
mean, the point is that nobody gives 2 cents about this team.
Yeah.
Outside of us. Mm-hmm. How real, or we can debate about it all we want, but at the end of the day, if you don't prove yourself throughout the end of the season, mm-hmm. that you are a competitor, that you're here to compete in all of the USL Championship, then people aren't going to care about you. People are going to minimize you. People are going to underestimate you. Mm-hmm. Because throughout the season, you've shown to be very inconsistent and have been very blunt when it comes to the attack.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's all about having, of course, you want to make a difference in the game, but at that time, when you can't, then it becomes a problem.
Yep. So, all right. Let's see if there's anybody on right now. So Harry says, "What's up, RGV land?" And he says, "I'm going to have a Twitter chat with you on the tonight's show." Yeah, just send me a message, Harry. I'll see what you have to say. Probably because he missed most of it, but there's always a repeat. But yeah, send me a message later on. But I'll probably be watching the Toros game. Remember. So guys in the chat, if you guys want any topics to talk about, go ahead and put it in the chat. Let us know. I mean, we can talk about the Dynamo, but it's more of the same thing.
Exactly. And you see the relationship. That is a perfect example of how the relationship goes. Of course, we don't need to get into that, but it's just more of the same.
It's beating a dead horse.
Exactly. Your favorite thing.
Well, if things would change, I wouldn't have to bring it up all the time. But that's neither here nor there, and that's not something that is in my control.
Yep.
But anyways, yeah, the Dynamo played against Vancouver at Vancouver. More of the same thing. Just looked off. They fought, which is good. But I do have to say that penalty call, that VAR call, that was a bad call. I do not think that Morrow had an intention to cradle the ball. I understand the point when you look, if you're going to be strict about it with the rules, that he made contact with the ball, But when you're jumping, obviously you're going to be using your hands as an impulse, as an impulse for you to help you jump, It just so happened that it hit his chest and it just rolled down to him while he was bringing his arms down.
Yeah, but do you see how his arms were? That's the thing that concerned me. Why were his arms like a box? His arms, to me, were like a box, and so that was kind of like he was hugging it. The announcer several times, which I ended up having to mute from TSN, just said, he's like hugging it like a goalie. Like, not necessarily, but it is going through his arms and hand. I do understand that.
All right. I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, so Morrow has one of his arms, his left arm, he has it over his mouth like this, right? Like, and then his other arm is beneath him, I think. Let me take a look at that right now. I know okay, yeah. So he's covering himself with his right. When he jumps, he brings his right arm goes up and his left arm goes down, kind of forms like a little hoop, and that's where the ball hits his chest. It hits between his chest and his arms. And I think that's where the referee saw the handball. Which in theory it is. It is a handball, but it's very rigorous. I think it was a very rigorous decision.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it even closer, the ball hits his chest, and his feet and his legs, in between the hoop that he made with his arms.
Yeah.
But yeah, and obviously once again, Fuenmayor showing us what he's capable of with that goal line clearance. No, wait, that was against Minnesota. But he had a good game as well against Vancouver.
Yeah.
But at the end, we go back to mental lapses and how common it is with this organization. They lost their composure, and at the end, Freddie Montero was not going to forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what's interesting? Kind of changing the subject, but going back with the same game, is that Vancouver is a total dumpster fire throughout the season. They are last place in the Western Conference. But I can assure you that they had more people in this match than at BBVA Compass Stadium have had as an average.
Oh, yeah, because that place is ginormous. And, of course, you can easily say they have two sports. And that is, well, hockey and...
The Canucks, right?
Oh, well, three sports, excuse me. Yeah. They have a dumpster fire over at the same exact place for their CFL football team, the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Then they've got a dumpster fire soccer team, and then they're just waiting to see what the Canucks will do. And the Canucks are supposed to be better, but who knows? They could also be a dumpster fire. So, in all, it's either you go over here or you stay in your apartment. So, of course, people would rather get out of the just get out of their apartment and go. So, yeah, of course they had more on the average. It's just when that's the only thing to do, of course you're going to be able to sell it out or at least make a good impression.
So, Sly Rooster says, let's not talk about that game. 'Twas sad.
Oh, of course it was. Just like the whole season. We thought it was good, and then, of course, well, things happen. And due to the players, more than anything, it goes back to them. Their mentality had been awful. Coach couldn't fix them, so why not leave? Of course, he got fired, but he picked up a job at a place that just seems like they got better mentality up in Montreal. Even though it's filled with a bunch of French that, of course, are just stubborn.
Whoa.
The players, what's his face over there at Montreal? That just
Piatti?
seems like, there we go. Seems like every single time he gets fouled, he wants a foul, call it. If not, then he gets very frustrated. That's kind of where I'm getting at. But, no, of course, that's besides the point. But, yeah, we could talk about Houston all the time. And in the root of it could be the front office, but also you get these players that have some fire that when they lose that fire, it becomes a problem for their personality. Then they just go rogue. That's also a good way to put it. What happened to Kyoto, what seemed like it happened a bit to the players. Now, of course, we see them actually fighting again. But for a while there, we were like, why are they even on the pitch if they're not going to try?
So you want to know what the attendance was for that match against Houston? 17,382.
Yeah, sounds about right. That's just one deck, of course, because they have the second deck blocked off.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And it goes back to my point.
Yeah.
That's just the way that Vancouver is. It's pretty cool.
All right, let me double check the lineup, if lineups have been posted. We're 1 hour away from kickoff between the Toros and Fresno Foxes. Nope, not yet. Lineups will be announced soon. I find that interesting. Usually they're in by an hour. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to be it for tonight. Oh, but I'll say it again. If Adnan wasn't red carded, no second goal. Then Sly Rooster says those numbers are skewed. They count season ticket holders that aren't there. But I mean, doesn't every team do that? Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's just like the Dynamo do. Every team does that. In the USL, in MLS, in La Liga, in Premier League. They always count. Yep. They count tickets sold, not actual tickets scanned. So Harry says, thoughts on San Diego coming in 2020 and Des Moines coming to USL Championship as well?
Pretty average. I mean, that's not necessarily anything too new. That's when you're on the decline. This is officially the retirement league as a USL. I can tell.
Ouch.
I think it's good for the USL, of course. But at the same time, how are they going to play? If they don't play well, it's a waste. If they play decently, it's still going to be a bit of a waste. If they sit around on the bench saying that they are quote-unquote injured, then it's another waste. So it could go either way, only, of course, time will tell. It could be good, it could be terrible.
I personally think San Diego is going to be successful, but I think Des Moines is going to be kind of iffy, especially if what Harry's saying is correct, that they're still pending a stadium. I don't think if that's the case, I don't think they're on the right track. And I think Des Moines as a market might be bigger than RGV, but I don't think it's going to have the same success as San Diego.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're pending a stadium, here I'll actually talk about this now, because apparently I thought that we were talking about 2 players coming in from the Premier League. Don't know why. Don't ask me. But yeah, no, Des Moines, that's a college town now.
I mean, it's Iowa.
Exactly, but if I'm not mistaken, that's where the Iowa Hawkeyes play. If I'm wrong about that too, then, well, I'm wrong. But, yeah, just, that's an iffy place. I can say so, but it could work out because, again, it is Des Moines, Iowa. And I don't know how big they are on soccer. Of course, you're pending a stadium. And then San Diego, it all depends on how they've built. What I think about, like, just the West in general, yes, they can love soccer, but their attendance can be so garbage.
So I just made a little bit of research on this, and it looks like Des Moines actually had a PDL team, or a US. Yeah, they were the Des Moines Menace, and pretty much they're going to turn that team into a USL Championship club soccer. But this article is saying until 2022, though. And Harry says that Des Moines Menace have been successful in the PDL. But like I said, it looks like Des Moines is not going to happen until 2022. They're saying that they have the backing of blah, blah, blah. They hope to build a $60 million stadium in the southern edge of downtown. So they do have plans for a stadium. At least they have that at this point. And I think they have enough time to get everything ready. How long did the Toros have? They were announced in 2015, right? They were announced in 2015, and then 2016. That's when they started playing. The big question mark is stadium. It says it would be constructed through a public-private partnership, according to the group's newly launched website. The group says that Central Iowa must meet an April 1st, 2020 deadline to show the league that sufficient support and funding mechanisms are in place to develop the stadium. Those requirements include the owner-operator of the stadium. For example, the city of Des Moines owns Principal Park, home of the Iowa Cubs of Baseball's Pacific Coast League. So they have until next year to have at least a temporary stadium plan. Which is like what is it, El Paso? I think it's that their stay at the Chihuahua Stadium. I think it's temporary, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe you're correct on that.
But yeah, I think Des Moines might probably want to be one of those teams that will kind of be on the quiet side of things, and like nobody's going to give 2 cents for them, and they might surprise. But then again, it's not the same to be good in the PDL than actually trying to be competitive in USL Championship. Obviously, just ask our guys that came from the Brazos Valley Cavalry. It's not the same. The level of play is much higher in USL Championship. That's why it's tier 1 in USL. But yeah, San Diego apparently has the backing of Landon Donovan.
Oh, haha. The man who thinks that he is a USA player, but roots for Mexico.
Ah, geez, really? You're still salty about that?
Of course, it's so disrespectful and stupid.
I mean, the guy got paid money for it, so he's laughing all the way to the bank.
Of course he is.
From your saltiness.
The exact Wells Fargo.
Yeah, so Des Moines Menace has been successful, but will it translate? And that's what we just said, Harry. Will it translate well? How successful they've been in PDL to USL Championship? Which I'm going to say no.
Yeah. only time will tell. Of course, you have to. Yes, you can have all the money in the world. The question is, can you make the team of young players / a bit of veterans and compete in the USL? It's always tough. It's to be exact, the championship.
Yeah,
I'd say no as well, because it's just a different monster.
So Sly Rooster completely disagrees with you on that Landon Donovan hot take.
Oh my gosh.
Well, this went everywhere and nowhere at the same time. But yeah, it's Oh, okay. So it's a Oh, so apparently it's a replacement for St. Louis.
Ah, yeah. But would they get St. Louis's players? No, because St. Louis's
That's the
players are
thing,
moving
though.
to the MLS.
That's the thing, though. I don't think. But here's my question, Harry, and I know you're more into this,
Yeah, of course.
and that is because I've never seen a street answer from USL Twitter, and I mean by like the people that tweet that are USL fans, like maybe Nipun Chopra or Sock Takes or Mike Pendleton, whatever. But is the organization that applied for and received the MLS franchise, is it the same organization as the USL team? Because nobody has given a straight answer on that. And if that's the case where it is, okay, it'll be another Cincy. But if it isn't, if it's two completely different organizations, then where does that leave St. Louis FC USL? So Harry says it's a new ownership. It's the coverage of the Midwest. So that leaves USL or St. Louis FC in limbo to me, in my eyes. Unless, I mean, I don't know how it's going to work because Des Moines is going to be a completely new franchise. It's not going to be where they're moving the St. Louis USL franchise over to Des Moines. That would be one thing. And we know that St. Louis has a really decent team. Sly Rooster says, if that's the case, Peoria needs to make a USL team, Cat as their corporate sponsor. I like that. But yeah, that's what I think. I think there's a lot more questions than answers with Des Moines. Oh, that'd be a lot of money. That'd be a lot of money with Cat, but I highly doubt that they'll want to invest in soccer. But Harry says they're part of the organization, but not the main owner. I don't know. It's too confusing, man. It's too confusing. I'll let the St. Louligans take care of worry about that. I think at this point, it doesn't really matter who comes in or who goes out of the USL. If the Toros don't get any better, it's going to be the same story every season. Now, as a USL in whole, it seems to me that rather than a partnership between MLS and USL, this is starting to be more of MLS completely leeching off of USL. They've already taken Cincy. They've already taken Nashville. They're going to take St. Louis. And what have they gotten back? Two teams that rarely compete, that are just there, that are just filler? What do you think?
To aspire to be filler, of course. Yeah, it's just time will tell with all of this, because we don't know how Des Moines gonna be. All we know is they've got the funding, both them and, of course, that San Diego club have that funding behind them. But now, you want to, of course, be successful. You want to, of course, win games. But you're starting from freaking scratch. Yes, that first year might be glorious, but will it continue on? Yeah, only time will really tell how it's going to be for them. Whether A, they'll survive, B, they'll be competitive, and C, well, they'll have the fan base behind them.
Lineups have been announced.
Lineups
We'll
have
get back.
finally been announced.
We'll get back to that other topic. So starting 11 for the Toros: Nico Corti on goal, Zach Jackson in place of Andrew Samuels, Sam Junqua, Connor Donovan, and Robert Castellanos, Eric Bird, Isidro Martinez, David Cabrera. Beckford gets a start. So this is his opportunity to prove us right. Come on, Deshane Beckford. This is your opportunity. Better capitalize on it. Carlos Esmal and Kevin Rodriguez. On the bench, you have Ben Not Joe Willis, who is a fan of the GOAT and the Patriots, which that's how I got along with him real easily. Kyle Adams, Sergio Mena, Brad Dunwell, Chuy Enriquez, Nico Lemoyne, and Michael Salazar on the bench. What are your thoughts to see Chuy Enriquez on the bench?
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. A very interesting change, for sure. Just, of course, give him rest, I guess. Really?
Exactly. And we can't say, oh, this is something that takes us by surprise. It's not. Because Coach Chivery has, every time we've had a weekday game and we've had a weekend game right before and after, he'll do that. He'll sub in players that have not received minutes in order to rest up their key players. He did it against Los Angeles Galaxy too. Remember Los Dos?
Yes, I do. Now, something that strikes me as a 4-4-1-1. That's a bit different.
Might be a 4-4-2 actually.
Well, I mean, we'll see if Kevin Rodriguez decides to come beside Carlos Small.
Think about okay, so this is the way I see it. I think to me, you will have, you know what? This might actually be a 4-3-3. This makes sense as a 4-3-3 more than a 4-4-2. Because think about it. You'll have Carlos Small as a striker. You'll have Kevin Rodriguez out on the left. Deshane Beckford on the right. You'll have a line of three midfielders with Isidro, Eric Bird, and David Cabrera. And you'll have your line of four and Nico Corti. It makes sense to me.
So you're saying this is no way in shape or form a 4-4-1-1, even though we're looking at it as a 4-4-1-1.
I mean, you got to remember that the USL always botches up formations. It doesn't make sense to have Isidro Martinez out on the wing when he's never played that position.
Yeah. Good point. Now I really want to see what this lineup's actually going to be. Formation.
I think it's going to be a 4-3-3, and I'll bet you anything it's going to be a 4-3-3.
That's a good one.
Here's the interesting. You look at well, taking into consideration that same thing with Fresno, but they're putting it as a 3-1-4-2 formation. I don't think I've ever seen that formation before.
Oh, I have. But of course, not really in real life being played.
Sly Rooster says Sam needs more minutes. I think he's talking about Junqua. Or I think you're talking about
Sam Junqua has had plenty of minutes. What is he talking about? He just constantly makes mistakes and sometimes has a breakout game.
Good night, Harry. He says, have a good night, guys. And then it depends on just how dangerous Small and Rodriguez are and how well the midfield can be won. 3-man backline is dangerous. And he also says, have a good night, gents. Have a good night, Sly Rooster. Thanks for watching. And with that, we'll go ahead and end the show because we got to prepare for this game.
Yeah.
And because I got to prepare my two TVs, because I need to put on my big screen, I need to put the Toros, and on my small screen, I got to put my Tigres versus for Leagues Cup.
Who do they play?
Cruz Azul. And
both teams are dumpster fires somewhat, so yeah.
You know what? Did I ask you? No, but you guys see how much I love the Toros, and I'm putting them on the big screen. All right.
Exactly.
So don't say I prefer Tigres over the Toros, because that's not true. Excuse me. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, Harry, Sly Rooster, my dad, Javier Ochoa. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate all of your support. Next week will be Thursday. Next week will be a Thursday because my actual birthday is on Wednesday, and I got invited. I got invited out that day, so it won't be available Wednesday, but Thursday if I'm not hungover or anything. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that again. Okay, but next Thursday at 7 p.m. will be the next episode of Down in the Valley, and hopefully we can talk positive things from today and from Saturday against Real Monarchs, which I totally just realized we never talked about Real Monarchs. But nope. I'm just gonna prediction for that match.
Prediction for Real Monarchs, just gonna say off out of the blue, it's at home. We're gonna get a win, and it's going to be 4-2.
1-0. Bold prediction.
Bold prediction. Brad Dunwell scores, and our goalkeeper Nico Corey scores as well as things get heated.
My bold prediction is going to be 3-0 win. Sam Junqua scores a goal. That's my bold prediction. But anyway, guys, we'll see each other later. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. And thank you, Jacob, for coming on tonight, just like every other week. Come on.